Buddy, on the phone right now, former ECW World Heavyweight Champion, indie wrestling legend, and Ring of Honor star Steve Corino. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you like that intro? I went all out for you, dude.
Yeah, that was very, very 70s-like. I liked it. I bebopped a little bit around. It was good.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate it. Listen, let's start with your Ring of Honor shit right now, dude. You could Death Before Dishonor Saturday. You're going for the tag titles. They will be crowned. You and Jimmy Jacobs. What are your chances winning the titles?
Let me tell you something. We got a huge stipulation on this one. It's win or go home. Jimmy Jacobs and myself were, we're given that by the office. It was literally right before we went out there, we were told, oh, guys, by the way, it's win or go home, not knowing what's going to happen in the tag team tournament because the new ROH is very secretive. It's very like, hey, this is what you're doing tonight. And you're like, oh, what am I doing tomorrow? We'll let you know tomorrow. So, not knowing what's going on is nerve-wracking. It's all get up, and especially what happened with Kenny King and Kenny King leaving without a contract. And then, myself and Jimmy Jacobs, we were under different types of contracts. And, we're going in Saturday not knowing, the whole win or go home sounds like a whole storyline, but it's real life for us. So we're excited. We're excited for the opportunity to actually show what we can do as a team. I've known Jimmy for a long time, and, we start off with Caprice Coleman and Cedric Alexander, and those guys are awesome. CNC Wrestle Factory are awesome. I just had a singles match with Cedric a couple weeks ago in South Carolina, and, man, that guy's the real deal, and I've known Caprice forever. We're, Omega alumni, so it's going to be great to get in the ring with those guys on a big stage in Chicago. Chicago is always hot, but I'm lucky in Chicago. A lot of people forget that Chicago, the Chicagoland area is where I won the ECW World Championship almost 12 years ago, and it would be fitting to win the ROH World Tag Team titles in that same area.
Now, what about that? You just said 12 years between the ECW World title and if you win the tag title. What is that like? You're 12 years later. You've gone through every wrestling federation under the sun. When you look at that 12 years, how is it looking at a title now as it was 12 years ago looking at the ECW title?
Well, I was 27 years old when I won the ECW World Championship. It was my first World Championship. Looking down at the belt, all the people there, it was crazy because I was numb. I didn't know what to do. Come now Saturday night, at 39 years old, not the young guy, not the next big thing, not the guy that's trying to hold on to what I have. It's a whole new appreciation. If I walk out of Chicago Ridge with, one half of the World Tag Team titles, it's going to be such an accomplishment because I showed that not only could I still be a major player in a major organization, but I showed that, like, I evolved and everything that I've done might not have been the same way that somebody else would have done in their career, but I followed the path that I wanted to follow, and, it's something that I would be super proud of. So win, lose, or draw, whether we go out in the quarter or the semifinals or, if we make it to the finals and lose, it's the fact that I was considered for that spot is such an honor, no pun intended. But it's a definite honor that at my stage of career, 18 years in the wrestling industry, that I still have the ability to warrant a spot like that. I didn't rest on my ECW things that I've done in ECW. I have evolved. I look different. I wrestle different and stuff like that. So the Steve Corino of 2000 and the Steve Corino of 2012 are two totally different wrestlers, two totally different people, and I'm just hoping to be rewarded. I'm rewarded by being on the pay-per-view, but I'm to have that gold in my hand would be like the ultimate reward. Everything I've ever worked for, because I've been in Ring of Honor a lot of the last 10 years. I started off as the commentator. I was in and out with the Homicide feud, and coming back 3 years ago to do the feud with Kevin Steen against Generico Cabana. My whole career, my last 10 years have a lot to do with Ring of Honor, and I've never had the chance. I've had one title shot my whole tenure in ECW and in ROH. So this is the opportunity. I'm sorry, I had two. I had one shot with the tag team titles 2 years ago with Kevin. So this is a shot to be the top tag team in Ring of Honor. I'm telling you, I'm so excited.
Mike Chiari?
Yeah, Steve, you've worked for two of the most successful third-party wrestling companies ever in ECW and ROH. So I was wondering if maybe you could discuss some of what you believe are the advantages of working for a slightly smaller promotion rather than working for a company such as a WWE or a WCW or a TNA.
Well, you know, like a WWE or a TNA, they are a machine. They're built on what their writers want, and that's what they're going to go for. Where in ECW and in ROH, it's a little more. They'll give you an outline, and then you're supposed to fill in the gaps. And it gives you a lot of creativity to, come up with your own match. Sometimes come up with bits of your character, bits of, the program that you're in, and it's exciting for me. I've never been a script reader. I once had a tryout for WWE, and then they had me in a room trying to do promos, and they wrote the actual promo for me. And I used to think, like, oh, I'm not an actor. How can I say this? Like, these people don't know the King of Old School character, and they want me to be the King of Old School, but they want to write for the King of Old School. And, to me, it was mind-boggling, and I had a hard time to do it. If they had me doing another character and reading off a script, I might have been much better. But, with ROH, I've evolved the King of Old School character to, I'm pretty much Steve Corino, like the older, wiser mentor to Kevin Steen wrestler. And I wouldn't have been able to do that in a WWE or a TNA and stuff like that. And it gives me also the creativity to, when it comes time for the actual match, to be like, all right, let me think here. I got a segment for 12 minutes. What am I going to do in these 12 minutes that are going to make these people go, you know what, that guy still has it, or that guy is evil, or that guy, oh, man, that thing's going to work there. So for me, creativity, I love it. I love it. Do I wish I could have made the money in WWE that some of these guys had made? Of course, but you know what? I would never change anything.
You wouldn't have Thumb in the Bum T-shirts, you know what I mean?
Exactly, right? Vince wouldn't have marketed that stuff.
No, there's no way he would have pushed that. Go ahead, Brandon Galvin.
Yeah, Steve, to me, when Ring of Honor first came up, you guys were just synonymous. To me, you were a pioneer there. They basically, Ring of Honor was built on purity in the ring, and to me, that's what you always, provided for the fans, and that was kind of what your whole, gimmick was, being that pure wrestler. And how important was it for you? You started off with TNA, but then you really went to Ring of Honor. You pretty much helped build that company. Before the guys like American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk were there, it was you. Well, how important was it for you to be able to pioneer one of the top faces of that startup company?
Well, when at the time Gabe and Rob and Doug were in charge, they had a vision of creating this hybrid style of pro wrestling with guys that a lot of fans hadn't heard from. Your Bryan Danielsons, your Christopher Daniels, your Loki's, your Xavier's, your Samoa Joe's. But they also used a couple guys that had been in the, quote-unquote mainstream, myself. But they are, I want to say Mama Luke and Little Guido were in the beginning. Was Mikey Whipwreck in a little bit in the beginning? But, they used us to help build the next generation, which I thought was brilliant. And that's where it was. And it was, for me, do I want to be the guy that's coming in and making everybody, or do I want to be the guy that's coming in and making everybody and also contributing so that I still have a job? And that's what I chose to do. I chose to be a part of the crew. I was lucky enough that ROH fans stopped looking at me as an ECW wrestler a long time ago, and they realized that, hey, this guy is, a total independent outlaw. Dare I say, Crash Davis from Bull Durham, a guy that has pretty much been a AAA minor league baseball player that had a cup of coffee in the major leagues, but he's that really good go-to guy, that is going to help the next guys get up to that major league level. I'm not saying that a Punk or a Bryan Danielson or a Joe or a Christopher Daniels or Austin Aries used me as a platform, but I think it's an influence of fans saw, hey, this guy, Corino and Punk are cool together, and, it might have brought a little bit of exposure to guys that they probably might not have gotten if it was just looked upon as another regular indie. But those guys worked so hard, and they stuck it out, and they did what they had to do. And now, you look at them on Thursday nights and Monday nights and Friday nights, and it is so, cool to watch. And it's cool that fans still remember them as, ROH, dare you say ROH originals, but they look at them like, man, look at a WWE champion. He was with us in ROH, and then he went on to greener pastures. It's definitely a cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah, Mike Kao.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of those guys that have went on to TNA or WWE, and certainly guys that are a little bit more mainstream, some household names. Is there any of those guys that you had a chance to work with coming up that when they were coming up, you thought, man, this kid has it, this guy is going to be a star?
There were so many of those guys. There's a little bit of guys that you thought couldn't miss that did miss, like your Michael Shanes and, Paul London, I thought was going to even be a bigger star. But, you looked at the Low-Keys and the Dragons and the Joes and the Daniels, and you knew that they were in Austin Aries. You knew that they were going to be huge stars. You look at how all the past ROH world champions from 2002 to now, Xavier is the only one that really missed. And I think it was because he wasn't very passionate about wrestling. Whereas the other guys, they all went on to do something big. And who knows what Kevin will do one day, or Eddie Edwards will do, or Roderick Strong. Roddy went to TNA. But these guys were all, became into the mainstream. You got your James Gibson, who he was Jamie Noble in WWE, gets released, comes to ROH, reinvents himself, and gets back there. Punk worked so hard to become what he was, got his job in there. So, ROH is a great platform for some of these younger guys to think, hey, you know what, I'm going to pay my dues, I'm going to get on TV, I'm going to create a character, and hopefully, I'll make it to the big time. So when when me personally, I'm watching WrestleMania, I'll be like, I knew that guy, I saw that guy develop it, who knows what's going to happen. An Adam Cole, a Mike Bennett, a Kyle O'Reilly, these guys that are the next generation of ROH guys, they 3-5 years from now, they could be guys that we're watching on Monday Night Raw that are drawing tens of thousands of people every week to watch them. And to me, that's the cool thing about, ROH. It's what ECW was. It was that platform to get to that next bigger level.